The smoke rose so fast that it looked like the whole kitchen was on fire. My husband burst through the door, coughing, eyes wide, shouting my name. Pots were everywhere, the stew had burned into a black mountain, and the rice tasted like tiny stones. His mother froze in the doorway, her hands on her head. And then he said the words that cut deeper than any knife. "Your cooking is destroying this home. I can't take this anymore." Everyone stared at me, my face red, my hands shaking, my heart breaking. I had tried my best. I had wanted peace. I had wanted love. But now, because of one pot of burnt food, my marriage was standing on the edge of a cliff. And the worst part, that wasn't even the biggest disaster I caused. Now, let me tell you how everything started. When I first married Daniel, his home felt like heaven. Everyone spoke softly. No one shouted. His mother was gentle, his father was calm, and his siblings respected each other. It was the kind of peaceful home people beg for in prayers. I felt lucky, like I had stepped into a family wrapped in harmony. But there was one small problem. A small thing I didn't think would matter. A small thing that later destroyed everything. I could not cook. Not even a little. I could boil water sometimes. I could fry an egg if someone reminded me not to burn it. But I believed love would cover everything, even my lack of kitchen skills. After all, Daniel loved me. He had never complained. He always said, "Your heart is more important than your cooking." I truly believed him. The first few weeks in the family house were peaceful. My mother-in-law cooked most meals. Sometimes Daniel helped. Other times his sister handled it. No one asked me to cook, so I didn't worry. I just smiled, washed dishes, and acted like everything was fine. But peace can sometimes be a quiet warning. One afternoon, Daniel's mother fell sick. Nothing serious, just a fever, but she needed rest. The family looked at me gently, the way people look at someone they trust. "Can you cook dinner today?" she asked weakly. My heart dropped. I smiled small, pretending to be confident. "Yes, Mama." Deep inside, thunder was clapping in my chest. I had never cooked a proper family meal in my life. I stood in the kitchen, staring at onions like they were foreign objects. The pot looked too big, the spoon looked too heavy, and the fire looked too alive. I whispered to myself, "Just try. How hard can it be?" Very hard. Very, very, very hard. The first pot of rice came out mushy like pap. The second one was half raw. The third, burnt. I began sweating. My hands shook. I started the stew. I added too much salt. I tried to fix it by adding more water, then more tomatoes, then more pepper. The food kept running away from me like it had its own spirit. By evening, the kitchen looked like a battlefield. When I finally served the food, everyone tried to smile. Daniel took the first bite. Then he coughed. His father swallowed and quietly drank water. His sister tried to hide her tears from the pepper. His brothers stared at their plates, confused. His mother sighed from her sick bed. I felt small. Very small. But nobody shouted. Nobody insulted me. Nobody said anything cruel. This family was peaceful, remember. Daniel simply held my hand and said, "It's okay, you'll learn." I believed him. I believed myself. I believed the peace would continue. But peace ends slowly, like a rope that begins to tear thread by thread. The next day, Mama was still sick. "Please cook again," she said. So I tried again. Another disaster. By the third day, the sickness spread through the family. Everyone was weak. Everyone had stomach pain. Everyone blamed the weather, but I knew the truth. It was my cooking. Yet no one said a word. One quiet evening, Daniel walked into our room, looking tired. "My love," he said gently, "I think you should let my sister handle the cooking for now." My heart cracked a little, but I forced a smile. "Okay." But inside, a seed of shame began growing. Little did I know that this small seed would later grow into a storm that almost destroyed everything. The next morning, when I woke up, everyone was whispering. They weren't fighting. They weren't shouting, but their whispers sounded like knives cutting the air. I heard my name. I heard the word food. And then I heard, maybe she's not ready to be a wife. Those words stabbed me deeply. I walked into the kitchen and saw Daniel's sister cooking. She looked at me like she didn't trust me anywhere near the pot. She tried to be polite, but I could feel the judgment behind her smile. That evening, Daniel didn't finish his dinner. He said he wasn't hungry. But I knew he was tired. Tired of the conversation. Tired of defending me. Tired of pretending everything was fine. Then the extreme event happened. The one that pushed everything into chaos and changed our marriage forever. Daniel's father invited visitors, important guests. And guess who he asked to cook for them? Me. I tried to refuse. I begged. I begged Daniel to speak for me. He said, "You can do it, please just try." I wanted to make him proud. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to show I belonged in the family. But instead, I created the biggest disaster this house had ever seen. I burnt the rice. I burnt the stew. The oil caught fire. The smoke covered the entire house. The visitors walked into a kitchen filled with smoke. Daniel screamed my name. His mother grabbed her head. The visitors' clothes smelled like burnt food. Chaos took over the peaceful home. And right there, standing in the middle of smoke and shame, Daniel shouted at me for the first time in his life. That moment changed everything. And what happened next? Well, that's where the real crisis began. Daniel's words echoed in my ears long after the smoke cleared. "Your cooking is destroying this home. I can't take this anymore." His voice had never sounded like that before, sharp, disappointed, almost broken. The visitors sat at the dining table coughing softly, waving their hands in front of their noses, trying to hide how embarrassed they were. His father apologized to them again and again. His mother refused to look at me. His sister stood with her arms folded, shaking her head slowly. And I just stood there. My hands were shaking. My heart felt like it was falling into pieces on the floor. The whole house smelled like burnt palm oil and shame. One of the visitors finally spoke. "It's okay, mistakes happen." But the way he said it felt like a heavy slap. Daniel didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on me, eyes that once held love and softness, now full of confusion and frustration. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. My throat felt tight, like something was wrapped around it. Then Daniel said something that broke me even more. "Go to the room, just go." I had never heard him send me away before. Not like I was a problem. Not like I was a burden. I walked to our bedroom slowly, every step heavy. The moment I closed the door behind me, I fell to my knees and cried. I cried until my throat hurt. I cried until my eyes burned. I cried until I felt empty. How did I go from joining the most peaceful family to becoming the source of chaos? I wanted to run away. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to rewind time and fix everything. But life doesn't rewind. It only moves forward. Outside the room, I heard Daniel's family trying to repair the evening. Plates clattered. Windows opened to push out the smoke. Soft conversations floated in the air. I heard Daniel apologizing to the guests again and again. And every time he apologized, it felt like he was apologizing for me. After what felt like forever, Daniel came into the room. He closed the door gently, but his face was still filled with disappointment. "I'm sorry for shouting," he said quietly. Today was too much." I wiped my face. I didn't mean to cause trouble. "I know," he said, "but you did." His words felt like knives. He sat beside me on the bed and let out a long, tired breath. "My dad trusted you with the meal. You should have told us you weren't ready." "I didn't want to disappoint anyone," I whispered. "But you did," he repeated. Silence filled the room, heavy silence. Then he said something I wasn't prepared for. "Maybe you should go to my mother's sister for a while. She can teach you how to cook properly." I froze. "Leave?" He wanted me to leave the house. Even if it was for learning, it still felt like rejection. "I'm your wife," I said softly. "Why can't you teach me?" He shook his head. "It's not about me. You need serious training, real training. And honestly, the house needs peace right now." The word peace stabbed my heart. I had destroyed the peace I admired so much. I lowered my head. "If that's what you want." "It's not what I want," he said. "It's what we need." But somehow, I didn't believe him. The next morning, the house was quiet, too quiet. Everyone avoided my eyes. No one asked how I slept. No one even mentioned the burnt food. But the silence was louder than shouting. By afternoon, Daniel's mother came to my room. "My dear, pack a few things," she said softly. "You'll stay with Auntie Grace for some weeks. She will teach you urgently." Her tone was gentle, but her eyes said something else. "Please don't cause more problems." I nodded slowly. As I packed, tears rolled down my cheeks again. I felt like a stranger in a place that once felt like home. When Daniel helped carry my bags to the car, he didn't hold my hand. He didn't hug me. He didn't even look at me properly. The drive to Auntie Grace's house was silent. I kept glancing at him, hoping he would say something sweet, or funny, or comforting. But he just stared ahead. When we arrived, he dropped my bag at the door. "I'll check on you," he said quietly. "Just please learn quickly." Then he turned and walked away before I could reply. I watched him leave until his car disappeared down the street. My chest felt heavy, like someone had tied a stone to my heart. Auntie Grace came out smiling. "Welcome, my dear," she said. "Don't worry, I will teach you everything." Her house smelled like fresh bread and warm oil. The kitchen was big and clean. She looked like a woman who had mastered the art of cooking for years. And I felt like a lost child. The first days of training were hard. Very hard. I cut onions and cried. I sliced tomatoes too big. I burned my fingers twice. I spilled pepper in the pot and made everyone sneeze. Auntie Grace tried to be patient, but even she sometimes rubbed her forehead and said, "Oh dear, let's start again." I wanted to give up so many times. But each time I held the chopping board, I remembered Daniel's face the night I burned the food. I remembered his disappointment. I remembered how I felt like a failure. So I kept trying. Weeks passed. Slowly, I improved. Slowly, I learned how to hold a knife. Slowly, I learned the right amount of pepper and salt. Slowly, I began to enjoy cooking. But just when I thought things were getting better, just when I finally learned how to make a delicious meal, an extreme event happened that changed everything again. Auntie Grace received a phone call. Her face went pale. She grabbed her handbag and rushed outside with panic in her voice. "My dear," she said, "you need to go home. Something has happened." My heart stopped. "What happened?" I asked, trembling. "It's your husband," she said. "He collapsed." And that moment, everything inside me shattered. My heart almost stopped beating the moment Auntie Grace said those words. He collapsed. Collapsed. My Daniel. The same man whose laughter once filled our home. The same man who never complained, never shouted, never even raised his voice until the day of the burnt food. My knees felt weak, my chest tightened. My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped my phone. "When, how, where?" I asked, my voice cracking like dry wood. Auntie Grace held my shoulders. "Calm down, my dear, your sister-in-law called. They said he came back from work, sat down on the chair, held his chest, and collapsed." My breath left my body completely. Held his chest. That meant pain. Serious pain. My mind raced with guilt. Was it stress? Was it because he was worried about me? Was it because I disappointed him? Shame burned through me like fire. Tears rushed to my eyes, blurring everything. "Let's go," Auntie Grace said urgently, grabbing her car keys. The ride back felt like the longest journey of my life. Every bump on the road echoed inside my chest. I pressed my hands together tightly, whispering prayers under my breath. Please let him be okay. Please don't take him from me. Please, God, I promise I'll do better. I'll learn, I'll change. Just don't let him die. Those words repeated in my heart like a broken song. Auntie Grace drove fast, faster than I had ever seen her drive. When we reached the family compound, people filled the front yard. Neighbors, friends, relatives, whispering, looking worried. My heart nearly fainted. I pushed through the crowd and ran inside. The house was louder than I had ever heard it. The same peaceful home that once felt like heaven now sounded like a marketplace of panic. Daniel's father paced up and down the living room. His shirt was unbuttoned at the top, sweat covering his forehead. His mother sat on the floor crying quietly, rocking back and forth. His sister held a bottle of water, her hands shaking. "What happened?" I cried. His mother looked at me, really looked, and for a moment I saw fear, pain, and something that looked like blame. "Where were you?" she asked softly, wiping her tears. "He needed you." Her words cut through me like a blade. Before I could answer, Daniel's father spoke sharply. He collapsed after returning from work. The doctor said it was stress. High stress. His heartbeat was irregular. They took him to the hospital. "Stress," I whispered. "Because of what?" No one answered. But their silence said everything. The cooking disaster. The embarrassment. The tension in the house. The shame. The whispers. It all added up, and it broke him. I felt tears spill down my face uncontrollably. Daniel's sister walked toward me slowly. "When he fell," she said, "he called your name before he blacked out." My heart shattered. He thought of me even in pain. "Let's go," Daniel's father said. "We need to be at the hospital." The drive to the hospital was silent, heavy, painful. Everyone was lost in their thoughts, their fears, their regrets. I sat in the back seat, holding my hands together so tightly my knuckles turned white. When we arrived, the bright hospital lights made everything feel too real. We rushed to the reception, and the nurse pointed us to the emergency ward. My legs shook as I walked in. Daniel lay on the bed, his eyes closed, his skin pale, a machine beeping steadily beside him. Tubes were attached to his arm. A monitor displayed his heartbeat, slow but steady. I covered my mouth with both hands. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run to him. I wanted to fall apart. But I held myself together as best as I could. His mother rushed to his bedside, crying. His father stood stiffly at the foot of the bed, breathing heavily. His siblings huddled together like frightened children. And I stood frozen. I felt like I didn't belong there. Like I was the cause. Like I was the reason he was lying there. The doctor walked in, a tall man with glasses. "You're his family?" he asked. "Yes," Daniel's father replied quickly. The doctor looked at all our faces before speaking. "He's stable now, but he needs complete rest. His blood pressure was very high and his heart rhythm was irregular. This kind of stress can be dangerous." Daniel's mother wiped her tears. "Is he going to be okay?" "Yes," the doctor said, "but he must avoid anything that stresses him." Then he turned to me. "Only me. You are his wife." My voice was small. "Yes, I am." The doctor sighed gently. "He kept murmuring your name when he woke up halfway during treatment." I felt my throat tighten. "He cares about you," the doctor continued, "but right now he needs peace." That word again. Peace. I nodded slowly. "I understand." But did I? Did I understand that my mistakes had pushed him this far? Did I understand that something as simple as not knowing how to cook had turned into a storm so heavy it nearly took my husband's life? I walked closer to Daniel's bed. His face looked tired, thinner. I touched his hand gently. It felt cold but alive. "Daniel," I whispered, tears falling onto his arm, "I'm so sorry." Suddenly, his fingers twitched. I gasped. His eyelids moved slowly, fluttering like a weak bird trying to fly. Then they opened, just a little. He looked at me. His voice was soft, broken, barely a whisper. You left. Those 2 words stabbed me so deeply, I couldn't breathe for a moment. I didn't leave you, I said quickly. I went alone so I could come back better, so I could make you proud. He stared at me quietly. Long. Deep. Painful. You left, he repeated. His mother touched his shoulder. No, my son, she. He interrupted, still looking at me. I needed you. More tears streamed down my cheeks. His voice cracked. I came home tired, and you weren't there. I felt like dying. He closed his eyes again, weak. I didn't want food, he whispered. I just wanted you. Those were the last words, before he fell asleep again. Silence filled the room. Heavy silence. His mother turned to me with tears in her eyes. You see now, it was not the food. It was the feeling of losing you. That is what broke him. My heart broke completely. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to hold him tightly and never let go. But before I could say anything, Daniel's father pulled me aside, his face firm. We need to talk. My stomach twisted. He guided me outside the emergency ward. The hallway was cold, too bright, too empty. Then he looked at me and said something I never expected to hear. You cannot come home yet. I froze. Not until Daniel fully recovers, he said calmly, and not until we are sure your presence won't stress him again. My body went numb. I'm not chasing you away, he added, but your husband needs peace, and right now, seeing you might bring back everything he's trying to heal from. My lips trembled. So I can't see him. Not for now. The words echoed through my bones like thunder. Auntie Grace placed her hand on my back gently. My dear, let's go home. I looked at the hospital door, at the place where the love of my life was lying weak, calling my name in pain. And I was being told to leave him. I wiped my tears with shaking hands. Everything inside me screamed, no. But my feet, my weak, trembling feet, slowly turned away from the door. Just as we reached the exit, a nurse ran after us, panting. Please, are you Daniel's wife? I turned immediately. Yes, I am. The nurse looked worried. You need to come back, quickly. My heart jumped. What happened? I asked, voice shaking. She swallowed hard, eyes wide. It's your husband. He just woke up again. And he's asking for you. When I rushed back into Daniel's hospital room that day, my heart was beating so fast I thought it would jump out of my chest. He was awake, weak, but breathing, his eyes searching for me like a lost child looking for home. When he finally saw me standing there, he didn't shout. He didn't complain. He didn't blame me. He simply stretched his fingers and whispered, Please, don't leave again. In that moment, everything inside me broke and healed at the same time. I walked to him slowly and held his hand. It was warm now, alive. His heartbeat was steady, but his eyes held fear, not the fear of dying, but the fear of losing me. I'm so sorry, I whispered, tears falling on our joined hands. I'm sorry too, he whispered back. I pushed you away thinking I was helping. I didn't know it would hurt you and me. He lifted his hand slowly and touched my cheek. I don't care about the food. I care about you. Those words wrapped my heart like a soft blanket. His parents watched us quietly. His mother wiped her eyes. His father sighed, like he had finally laid down a heavy load. That day, the peace that had once been in their homes slowly came back, just in a different form. Daniel recovered slowly over the next few weeks. And as he healed, I healed too. I stayed by his side, prayed with him, talked with him, and held him when the memories of stress tried to come back. And when he finally returned home, I returned with him. Not as the frightened girl who didn't know how to hold a knife. Not as the woman who burned rice 3 times in one day. Not as the wife who ran away to hide her shame. I returned as a woman who had learned, grown, and transformed. Auntie Grace's training helped me more than I expected. I could now cook meals that made the whole family smile. The first time I cooked a big family dish, properly seasoned, properly cooked, beautifully served, everyone clapped for me. Daniel hugged me so tightly that his mother laughed and said, "Let her breathe." Slowly, the whispers in the house turned into laughter. Slowly, the fear in Daniel's eyes turned back into love. Slowly, the shame in my heart turned into confidence. And peace returned to the home, stronger than before. Because this time, the peace came from understanding, not pretending. It came from communication, not silence. It came from love, not fear. Daniel and I learned the biggest lesson of our lives. Marriage is not destroyed by mistakes. It is destroyed by silence, pride, and distance. But when two people choose to learn, choose to listen, and choose to love, even burnt food cannot break what is meant to stay together. Today, we tell our grandchildren this story and laugh. They never believed that there was a time Grandma couldn't cook at all. They never believed that Grandpa almost fainted because he missed her too much. They never believe how a simple kitchen mistake nearly tore a home apart. But that's life. Sometimes what looks like the end is the beginning of a stronger chapter. And as a grandmother now, I always tell them, don't ever allow a small problem to grow into a big storm. Talk, communicate, learn, and always hold the people you love close. Because love that is taken for granted is love that can break. That is my story. The story of how I married into a peaceful home. How my bad cooking sparked a marriage crisis. And how love, patience, and growth turned the crisis into a testimony. And yes, today when you taste my food, you will ask for more.